Atlanta Falcons are going to shock teams this year. Welcome on into Falcons Today. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I think Atlanta might be a sleeping giant in 2024. But if you want the Falcons to make the playoffs this year, hit that thumbs up button. Let's get some good vibes going into the weekend and into the season for the Atlanta Falcons. But reason number 1 for Falcons fans to buy in this year, Kirk Cousins. Obviously, the Falcons made a huge upgrade at the quarterback position. But I think it's more than just improving from Desmond Ridder to Kirk Cousins, who last year, unfortunately, was out for half of the season due to a torn Achilles. But you can look at the numbers he put up the 3 seasons prior, 3 consecutive years of over 4,000 passing yards, nearly 3 straight seasons of 30 touchdowns. And had he played all of 2023, he was on pace for maybe the best year yet of that 4-year stretch. But take it one step further. Look at Kirk Cousins' numbers from 2022 compared to Falcons quarterbacks in that time span. Completion percentage, way up. Yards per game, up by almost 100 yards. Touchdowns, way up. Interceptions, down. Rating, way up. But I think one of the biggest reasons why the Falcons are going to benefit from Kirk Cousins at quarterback than the last couple of years is because look at the quarterback turnovers since 2021. Kirk Cousins in that time span, 26 interceptions, 9 fumbles, 35 total turnovers. All Falcons quarterbacks put together in that time span, 37 interceptions, 16 fumbles, 53 total turnovers. This defense in Atlanta is not going to be top 10 this year. But a huge factor that will help this defense from being exposed is stop turning the ball over. Stop putting them in bad, tough situations where even the best defenses in the NFL may crack a little bit and give up a score. Kirk Cousins protects the football. This defense doesn't get put in tough, sticky situations, and they're not going to be put on display and on blast for being maybe a bottom half of the league defense, which is why I think Kirk Cousins is a huge get for Atlanta, not just because he's better than Desmond Ridder and Mariota and Taylor Heineke and the 2021 version of Matt Ryan, but because he's not going to turn it over nearly as much, which is going to make the defense better as well as the offense. Second reason to buy in, you've got some young weapons that I cannot wait to see fully on display. Bijan Robinson last year, 976 yards, over 400 receiving yards, 1,300 plus yards from the line of scrimmage. Kyle Pitts is definitely one that's been a bit of an enigma for the Falcons coaching staff to crack, but I think we're going to see Raheem Morris go to his star players a lot more than Arthur Smith did last year. You look at what the Rams did a season ago. They had Puka Nacua emerge. What do? Force feed Puka Nacua the football. Having good players like Puka Nacua certainly helps a ton, but we did see the Falcons coaching staff overthink things a little bit in the red zone. Get the ball to Kyle Pitts. And then finally, you've got Drake London's career. 2 seasons so far with the Atlanta Falcons and 2 strong years, but hasn't really had that true breakout 1,000-plus yard season. I think that is on the way for Drake London because he finally has a legit quarterback. The guy was putting up nearly 1,000 yards on offense in an offense that wasn't passing the ball very much and never had consistent quarterback play week to week. Give him one quarterback and a Pro Bowl caliber QB in Kirk Cousins for 17 games, and I think Drake London could be a 1,200-plus, 10-touchdown type of receiver. I think there's going to be a huge year for Drake London in the forecast, and that's just going to make this team better and better. Now, which of these 3 young stars do you think will have the best season? Drake London, Bijan Robinson, or Kyle Pitts? I'm going to go with Drake London. No slight against these 2 guys. It's just when you improve the quarterback position, who's going to be the biggest beneficiary of that? A wide receiver. Third reason why I think that the Falcons will surprise people in the NFL world this year, kind of a weak schedule. Let's just call it what it is. It's not a very grueling schedule. There's some tough games, right? They go to Philly. They got the Chiefs coming to town. It's not an FCS schedule, but some of the tougher games they do have, they are at home, for example, like the Chiefs, like the Cowboys, right? Chargers come to town. Not so many cross-country road trips. They went to Seattle a few years ago. This time the Seahawks come to town. So benefit goes towards Atlanta. So there is definitely some travel improvements for the Falcons this year, but just overall strength of schedule. If you just go off of their opponents this year's win percentage from last year, The Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints are tied for dead last. And a big reason is because they are all in the NFC South, right? All but one team in the NFC South last year. Oh no, Saints were at 9-8, but still, the second best team went 9-8 in this division. You get to have some easier opponents, which is why I don't think strength of schedule purely based off last year's win percentage is the best indicator, because teams change in the offseason, and this does not reflect that. This does not show that the Bears got Caleb Williams, right? This does not show the Panthers got a new head coach. So what I like to look at is the Vegas projected win totals for this upcoming season. And the Atlanta Falcons, you can see in the top left corner of this graphic, are in a tier of their own, right? Chargers shortly follow behind them, then the Bears, then the Jets, then the Saints. But the Falcons are so much further away than the rest of the pack based on what Vegas thinks all the 31 teams are going to do this season. So, weak schedule, much improved quarterback play, young offensive core. I mean, we're just going up and up and up. Now, before we look at the last two reasons why I think the Falcons will shock the NFL, if you want some Falcons watch parties this season, go ahead and hit that sub button down below. Help us reach 22,300 subscribers. The more subscribers the channel has here at Chat Sports, the more studio space they get. And that means more watch parties. So I invite everyone watching right now to go ahead and click that subscribe button. Fourth reason to buy in, defensive stars. This defense, I'm not going to try and sell you oceanfront property in Oklahoma. That's just not realistic. But there are some good pieces on this defense. Grady Jarrett, David Onyemata, two of some of the best interior defensive linemen in the game. Kaden Elliss, sure, is not a perennial Pro Bowl linebacker, but the guy's got great pass rushing tools. He is excellent against the run and in coverage. He is a well-rounded linebacker, and having him in the middle of the defense is going to help keep everyone in line. AJ Terrell is a Pro Bowl caliber cornerback. He's a top 10 corner in my eyes, and Jessie Bates is a top 3 safety in my opinion. Last year, 6 interceptions, multiple forced fumbles, 11 pass breakups. The guy was an all-pro safety. You've got Jessie Bates back there. Things are only going to go up. The only thing that this Falcons defense really needs is a half-decent pass rush. If they can just find a middle of the pack, middle of the ground kind of pass rush to get after the quarterback, this defense is not going to be top 10 in the NFL, but it's going to be okay. Now, I got some trivia to ask before we get to the final reason to buy in. Jessie Bates last year had 6 interceptions. That was the most by a Falcon since who in 2018? Let me know who in 2018 had 6 or more interceptions. Fifth reason to buy in, Raheem Morris. This is our second go-around with Raheem Morris. The first one was not so great for the Buccaneers, but I believe people can change, people can improve at their jobs, and there are a lot of really good coaches that had excellent swings at it in their second go-around. Bill Belichick comes to mind. Pete Carroll's another one. But this offense, in my eyes, is talented enough, from the offensive line to the quarterback position to all the skill position players, where you don't need Raheem Morris to be hyper-focused on fine-tuning the offense, which means Raheem Morris, who is a pretty well-versed coach when it comes to offense and defense, but maybe more so on the defensive side of the football, can really focus in on this defense and get the best out of them, because there's going to be a lot of coaching that has to be done. It's a very young defense, right? Following Michael Penix, that draft pick, they went defense, defense, defense. I mean, they just littered the board with defensive picks, especially on the defensive line. So there's going to be a rotation going on. There's going to be a lot of fresh legs on the field. And most importantly, there's going to be a lot of coaching that has to be done. And Raheem Morris can devote a lot of his time to this defense because he doesn't need to worry about the offense. It's got Kirk Cousins. That's a built-in coach on your offense. Plus, the offensive line is top 5 in the NFL. Bijan, Pitts, and Drake London, they are just fine. Now, there's also another element as to why I think Raheem Morris will be successful, and it's just history. There were 8 head coaches hired this year. And when you look at the 8 head coaching hires, we can all come up with premature rankings before any of them step on the field in the regular season, or we can look at what history tells us. And if you look at the last 5 years of head coaching cycles, there's always a new head coach that makes the playoffs in year 1. Last year, there were 5 hires. Only 1 made the playoffs, and that was the Houston Texans. The year before that, 10 new head coaches. 5 of them in their first year made the playoffs. Year before that, 7 new head coaches. Nick Sirianni made the playoffs, the only one. 2020, we had 2 new head coaches out of 5 hires make the playoffs, including Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns, ending that drought. And then in 2019, we had 7 new head coaches and only 1 made the playoffs. So you might notice a trend here, like 1, more than 1, 1, more than 1, 1, we are due. So of the 8 head coaches that just got hired, I think 3 will make the playoffs in year 1. The Chargers with Jim Harbaugh, the Commanders with Dan Quinn, and the Falcons with Raheem Morris. So if we are due for more than 1 head coach making the playoffs this year, if that's what history tells us, I think Raheem Morris has a good shot of being one of those multiple first-year head coaches to make the playoffs. Before we get on out of here, I want to revisit our trivia question for the day. Jessie Bates had 6 interceptions last year. That was the most by a Falcon since who in 20? I don't know if it's who or whom. Someone who knows English better than me, let me know. In 2018. But drum roll, please. Damontae Kazee had 7 interceptions back in 2018. Jessie Bates put up 6 last year, the most since then. So, if you got the question correct, bravo to you. Appreciate everyone for sticking around for today's video. Make sure to hit that like button if you want to see the Falcons return to the playoffs for the first time in not quite a decade, but we are sadly inching closer and closer to it by the year. Make sure to like today's video.